another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. My name is Chris Salona. As usual, I'm joined by my good friend, Ethan Shalloway, and this is episode 18. I hope everybody's doing great. Ethan, how you doing today?
Chris, I'm doing really well. It's Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. We're actually recording this at the nighttime, so I believe we're going to be, some people are going to be making some tacos in my house.
Oh, very nice.
This.
I'm going to have to come on over.
I'm doing pretty good. I had a decently low-key weekend. I just kind of hung out. Then I start my travel tomorrow. But how about you? How was your weekend?
Oh, man, I had a hell of a weekend. It was awesome. Yeah. So I live in Rhode Island, which is equidistant, for those who don't know, basically from New York and Boston. It's right in the middle. I went and visited two very old friends down in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So that was like a 7-hour drive on Friday. Went there, had a fantastic time in the city. I'd never really been in Philadelphia proper. Great town, really big fan. Definitely looking forward to going back at some point. But then I woke up on Sunday in Philly and drove back to Providence. And then I went from Providence and I went 3 hours north up to the great land of New Hampshire. One of my friends, it was their birthday recently, and there was a nice little birthday dinner situation going on there. So had to go up for that, dinner and drinks, and pulled back into the station in Providence Monday morning at about 2:00. I fired off some Homeward Bound by Paul Simon onto the airwaves on Grunge Bible, went to sleep, and we're rolling, man. We got another good week. I'll just get this out there. Tomorrow morning, Wednesday, July 14th, I'm heading back to New York City. I am seeing Bruce Springsteen on Broadway, and I'm very excited about that.
That's awesome. First time seeing Bruce?
I've never seen Bruce, and
you're one of the first people that he loved Bruce.
He's totally been a bucket list artist for me for a long time, and I was able to get tickets for Springsteen on Broadway. So I'm heading there tomorrow. I'm going to come back on Thursday, back to Providence. And then on Friday, I'm heading down to your land. We're going to get together, huh?
Yeah, we are. That's exactly right. And it's going to happen. It's our yearly. I don't know. It's our annual. We've only done it every year for the last 5 years, I guess. But we see each other like once a summer, and that happens to be this weekend. I got a competition in Pennsylvania, so I'm driving home tomorrow, and then Chris is going to come down to hang out with us that weekend, watch the competition, drink and be merry, just have a good time, and that's going to be really great. It's going to be a really fun time. It's going to be high energy. That meet is always super great, and hopefully we get to play some music together too.
Yeah, we can talk about that a little later, but for those who don't know, we're in a band.
We are in a beautiful band, and with one of the best band's names. We've talked about it. What we think that good band names are. Merchant Copy. Follow us on Instagram. Funny thing, I remember making that Instagram and I wanted to populate it. And like grow this imaginary band before we even played a show. Oh yeah. Just to prove that it wasn't that hard, because bands don't have good followers. But then again, I forgot that we have like 250,000, 300,000 followers.
Right. It's
page and my personal and all these other stuff that I was doing. So like naturally, I didn't.
Absolutely.
I didn't do that, so.
We'll keep Merchant Copy for the OGs. It's kind of like a members only thing. So if you're listening to this podcast, you are officially in the club. So
back of the plane, Merchant Copy, all those things.
You get the best of the Grunge Bible, Chris and Ethan deep cuts directly from the horse's mouth on this podcast, and we intend on keeping it that way. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this weekend. I don't think we've actually been together in person since August of 2020. So that's, what is that, 11 months basically. So
yeah, just about a year. Yeah, I love when we travel and stuff on the weekends, like, because Grunge Bible got a nice Philadelphia pick.
Yeah, man.
The page. I love when we're like busy. I mean, I know when you're busy, you just like, you posted Narragansett last weekend, right?
Yep. Yeah, I just post whatever. And actually, there's something that I need to talk about here. I was in Philadelphia on Saturday on South Street, and I received a direct message from somebody who follows Grunge Bible and told me, they were like, I definitely just saw you on South Street in Philly. Was that you? And that is the first time certainly with Grunge Bible, but also just in my life that I've ever been recognized. Like a little like celebrity situation going on right there, and it was really strange. But I don't know. It was. I guess this is the kind of thing you have to deal with when you have 300,000 followers on Instagram now. As we just attained that.
Yeah, just picture yourself like in their shoes, like they follow the Grunge Bible, and then you see like just a Chris Salona
see
walking down
schmuck walking down South Street,
probably drunk.
Yeah, if they saw me an hour later, the answer would have been yes. Nobody knew I was on the job. Exactly but like right. I don't know. I definitely could not be a legitimate celebrity that people would actually. That's got to be difficult. You have to be on all the time. Or you're not, and then people think you're an asshole. People think you're like Billy Corgan or something. So,
yeah, I think being a celebrity is 100% overrated.
Yeah, I'm not cut out for that. So I'm glad I don't have to worry about that anytime soon. I don't know that you'll have to worry about it anytime soon. So I'm just doing me, as they say.
Yeah.
So anyways, This show, as always, is sponsored by the Grunge Bible 5, and those names are as follows. We have The Great Release, we have Sonny Mashburn, we have Alexis Shannon, we have Victor Schaefer, and we have Shannon Gorgone. So those are our top 5 supporters over there on Patreon, sustaining this podcast 18 episodes in, and they've been with us damn near every step of the way. So we're very appreciative to those 5.
I think it's time that somebody joins in.
I think there's room for a 6th. You know, it's like when Pearl Jam welcomed Boom Gasper into the band. I mean, you gotta add somebody else into the fold here. So if you want to know what that's about,
we've been calling it the Grunge Bible 5 for a while. So I kind of want to call it like the Pick 6 or like the Sixth Sense or something.
Yeah, we can figure out some shitty name to name it.
Yeah,
it'll be great.
That's the least we could do, right?
Exactly. So we're looking forward to that. You know neither the day nor the hour, as we like to say, and I guess as Jesus liked to say too. So shout out to Jesus of Nazareth, I guess, on the Grunge Bible podcast.
Amen.
AKA Chris Cornell, but nevertheless, Ethan, I have a question for you to kind of kick off this podcast, which will lead into the topic that we're going to be discussing. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
And the question is, what about Scott?
What about Scott? That's a good question. Something that we've read on the page 1,000 times. And I have a good friend who I met here in Birmingham, and I worked with him at the coffee shop and actually in the tree company, and he found out and loved that I ran this Grunge Bible. We didn't know anything about it, but he's like, man, he's like, you guys, when you post, like Chris Cornell, he noticed this. He's like, when you guys post like the big 4, he'd be like, everybody posts like, what about Scott? Like,
what about Scott?
And they have been doing this. We've been getting those comments for the entirety of
It's probably the most common comment that we receive, I would say, aside from probably that and, oh, this isn't grunge, or, hey, you're posting too much Pearl Jam. Those are probably the top 3. But what about Scott has always been.
What do you think? What about Scott, Chris?
What about Scott? Exactly. And I think, from my perspective, I often don't include the Stone Temple Pilots in terms of, the Seattle grunge scene, because they weren't from Seattle. Scott Weiland wasn't from Seattle. I think he was from Huntington Beach, California. And the Stone Temple Pilots, weren't in Seattle. But obviously, history has forever intertwined them with the grunge scene. And I just need to clear the air. The supposed absence of Scott and or the Stone Temple Pilots is not in any way, shape, or form because we think any less of them or the band. They're fantastic. I think in the real case is that I don't think they get their due maybe as much as they should. And I guess that makes us complicit in that because we don't post them enough, apparently, although that is up for debate. But I mean, really just the Stone Temple Pilots, pretty much through every iteration that they had, I think they're a fantastic band. With Scott at the forefront and then Chester Bennington for a little bit, and now their new music with Jeff Goot. I think it's a really well-rounded band. I think the DeLeo brothers and Eric Kretz on the drums, just great musicians coming together to make some great music. They've been doing it for almost 30 years now. So I definitely have a high opinion of this band and really enjoy listening to them. But what do you think about when you think about the Stone Temple Pilots? And obviously, this conversation, it's synonymous with Scott Weiland. You know, what comes to your mind when you think about that band and Scott himself?
Yeah, first thing I think about is Scott, and
Me too.
and obviously his showmanship. I think that he controlled a stage better, like the best of them. He was up there as far as the performer go. I've heard a lot of stories, read a lot of comments, and how he just, when he was on, and it's true. I mean, his vocal power and like I said, the way that he danced around the stage is really unique. It was, I think a lot of people, attempted to do that, and it was. It's just a lot of fun to watch. Like his early years are just so much fun. That band is a lot of fun to watch. So I always just think about how awesome it is to listen. I really like their range as a band.
Totally.
Yeah, like some of their, some of their lesser. I don't know. Just going through all this, like some of my favorite songs, and we'll probably hit on. Like I love Atlanta and Sour Girl, and they're kind of groovy and kind of like just like I literally picture Scott just kind of like moving back and forth and singing these songs. Or Atlanta is like more of a ballad, but and then of course you have Plush, which is like
and they have
essential.
And they have such a fantastic range. And Scott, Scott as a performer, certainly in his prime, in the early to mid 90s and even lingering into the 2000s, I think he did, enjoy some periods of sobriety here and there as his life wore on. But I mean, in terms of the showmanship that he brought onto the stage as a front man and as the leader of a band, I mean, I think you could put his talent in that regard up there with anybody from the 1990s. Like, like him on stage, he holds his own against Eddie Klein in the rafters, Chris Cornell stomping around, Kurt Cobain not giving a fuck. I mean, Scott, when he was on, man, he was on.
Yeah, I don't know. You almost could put him like right. I don't even know who has the best stage presence, but like you could argue that he does. Like the way that he. I don't know.
I mean, I think I'd even be willing to put him in the conversation with some legendary frontmen like Freddie Mercury, for example, or even like Robert Plant when he was on, in the early 70s with Zeppelin, and just their ability to just be captivating figures. I think Scott was really up there. And you made a really good point too, is I think a lot of people also can tend to forget how diverse of a band they are, and how their range was really, really incredible. And everybody, they got killed, with critical acclaim reviews when Core came out in 1992, and even into their career as being Pearl Jam ripoffs, or like Seattle wannabes, or any sort of pejorative term that you wanted to label them as. They were throwing them out there. And I think it was, if I remember right, I think Rolling Stone, David Frick, who is one of the preeminent Rolling Stone music critics and writers, kind of traveled that wave where I don't think he reviewed them too strongly after Core came out, because he's like, oh, they're just ripping off the sound or whatever. But I mean, especially once you got into like the Purple album and then Tiny Music and Number 4, I mean, they really touched every single basin imaginable that a rock act could. And I think I mentioned this on the Deep Cuts episode that we did recently. I mean, all you have to do, if somebody's making fun of Plush, all you have to do, you just play Atlanta for them. Like that's all you got to do. Or you play Sour Girl, or you play Pretty Penny, or you play Lady Picture Show, or I mean any of these songs. And I always appreciate that type of range, creatively, that bands can showcase.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, and a great few songs. I forgot about Pretty Penny. That's a really good one. And then they have a really iconic, obviously MTV Unplugged that we love watching.
Totally.
Of Scott in his rocker,
the rocking chair. That's so
extremely
awesome.
Iconic. Yeah, I love. They fit right in with all the iconic MTV Unplugs, and every song in that set list is really, really solid.
Yeah, I agree. And I think my favorite thing about that is that I think that came out definitely before. I'm not sure how far before, but it came out before the Purple album was released. And I think that was the first live performance of Big Empty. And I think for me, I think I would say that the Big Empty is my favorite Stone Temple Pilots song, and it's the one that I listen to the most often. Do you have yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so Big Empty. Elaborate. Why is that your favorite song? Do you have a lyric that you love, or what is it about the Big Empty?
So as we know, I'm a really big lyrics guy, and I just think the lyrics are fantastic. Too much tripping and my soul's worn thin. Her dizzy head is conscience laden. Conversations kill, but I don't know. It's just something about the instrumentation. I mean, you have that really, really just tired sounding slide guitar to lead into it. And it's just, I think something that the Stone Temple Pilots are particularly good at is blending that acoustic guitar along with the electric. So you've got that, really, really hushed acoustic guitar in the verse. And then, when you come into the chorus, time to take her home, things kind of open up and Eric Kretz's drums get louder. And it's just such a versatile song. But I just think, it's hard to explain, I think, the mood on the song, but I guarantee you know what I'm talking about, and everyone else out there listening knows what I'm talking about. But just like that, like melancholy, I guess, and just that like tired mood that the song, kind of conveys. That's a great, you had a long night, you're waking up, in the morning, you throw the sunglasses on to go for a drive, or you're leaving somewhere, you throw on the Big Empty, and it certainly doesn't disappoint. But I think it's always been my number one.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten lyrics texted from you from the Big Empty, and there's definitely some heavy airplay back in I don't know, a couple of years ago when we were deep into them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Do you have is there a song, I guess, for the Stone Temple Pilots that you would consider to be, I guess, and they can be two different ones, but like your favorite Stone Temple Pilots song, but also like the most quintessential Stone Temple Pilots song, where it's like, if you had something I always like to think about, if you had one shot to introduce somebody to this band, which one would you pick? So I'd love to hear, your thoughts on those two selections.
Yeah. It's a tough one. My favorite one, I like their slower stuff a lot. Not slower stuff, but like softer, like Atlanta is just a beautiful. That's just such a good song to take in.
Yeah, and
so
another
good for
one
a drive.
Yeah, and another one that I forgot about too, talking about Atlanta, was also off of the Tiny Music album, actually, Adhesive, which is just such a great slower one as well. And I'm definitely with Big Empty also. Really into their slower stuff. But yeah, I know you've always been a really, really big fan of Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said before, Sour Girl, like we talked about, I mean, that we're actually rehearsing that. We've been learning it and trying to get ready for the weekend to play that, I think, and jam together. And that one is just I love I guess falsetto is the word, when he goes up and I really like that. I do appreciate Vaseline a lot. I think that might be the one that I would show people. I'm not really sure why. I just think that it's just big enough, and just kind of like that. The beginning is like you just. I feel like I don't know. Do they historically open with that one a lot?
I'm not sure.
I don't know their set list, but I can feel like that would be something that you hear the beginning and you hear and you just like. He starts going into it.
It's got a great build to it.
Yeah, it like rises up really fast, and I feel like that would be a great opener to a show. And it comes on like it's like, all right, here, the band's coming out, and so I feel like that would be a pretty good one to show people. But then you have you have Interstate Love Song and Sex Type Thing, and
your Wicked Gardens.
Yeah, I love Wicked Garden.
Your Meat Plows. I mean, I definitely tend exactly. And the thing with me, there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of songs,
and even it's crazy. It's like we go.
You don't realize so many.
And 30 seconds ago, we go from talking about like Atlanta, Adhesive, Pretty Penny. Like this is the same band that wrote Dead and Bloated and Wicked Garden. Like I tend to fixate on the slower stuff and like the lyrical, like the slow ride stuff that I find myself at times forgetting, like this band also wrote, Dead and Bloated and, some of like the harder, harder rock songs of the like 90s alternative grunge rock scene, whatever you want to call it. And on their first album, I mean, like Plush is even a harder song. Where the River Goes, Cracker Man, you forget, people forget about Cracker Man. You can't be forgetting about these songs.
No, you can't.
And it's even strange too, because they were billed, as one trick ponies, and Pearl Jam ripoffs or whatever in 1992 and 93. But I mean, even that first album, the core album, I mean, you have something like Creep or even like Piece of Pie or Sin, for example. I mean, there's still a lot of range on that.
Yeah, I think that I would, if I could go back and pick a band to see, there's a lot of bands I'd want to see, but now that we talk about it, I think that like, young and prime time Stone Temple Pilots can go to bat with any of these bands. Like I was almost said something crazy and said that I would like their Unplugged show. I'd almost want to see more than.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if I can say more than Nirvana.
Yeah.
Like all those are just so good.
It's such a tough call. I mean, I would give a lot to see any of them.
I know. I was gonna say, oh, Nirvana's the best one. I was like, well, no, but then you have Pearl Jams. But then I was like, wait, Alice in Chains, like that would be just absurd to see live.
Exactly. So, I mean, there's so much, and I mean,
I put my foot in my mouth for that comment, but I still would. I think that they would be just. Yeah, prime time, 100% in person, like in a small setting like that. Man, it'd be so good.
Yeah, and one concert the Stone Temple Pilots did that I tend to think about with them. This is even a little bit later on, and I know the one I'm talking about. I think it was from 2001. It was a concert called Rolling Rock Town Fair, sponsored by the great people of Rolling Rock Beer.
Love that. Rocks at Docks.
Absolutely. It was in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and after reading accounts from people that were there, it was like ridiculously hot, like probably pushing 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And the guys just turned in such an incredible performance. I know we've posted probably every single song from that day. I mean, even that was in 2001, after Scott had several serious bouts and ups and downs with drugs and drug addiction and everything. And I think unfortunately it's like you can't really talk about the Stone Temple Pilots, and you can't talk about you can't talk about Scott Weiland without talking about just how tragic and how horrible drugs are. And obviously that's something that any fan of this genre knows a lot about, because it's like you've got Kurt Cobain, you've got Lane Staley, you have Scott Weiland, Andrew Wood, you have Mike McCready, who struggled himself, and countless others. And it's just really sad too, because it's like you think about obviously you lose a great singer, a great musician, a great performer, but I mean, people lose a father, people lose a husband, a confidant, and it's really sad to think about. And even still too, with after Scott had left the Stone Temple Pilots, Chester Bennington was billed to fill in for I think the better part of 3 years, and obviously he struggled so much, and he's no longer with us either. And now the band is reconstituted again, and they've released 2 albums actually with their new singer Jeff Goot. And the same thing, I'll say the same thing about the new Stone Temple Pilots as I do about the new Alice in Chains, is you can't write them off just because the singer has changed. And I definitely would like to tell people to go give those albums a listen. There's some good stuff on there.
Yeah, and it's their decision to keep playing, and I love that they do. I mean, you'd rather play on and honor all the work that the band has put and done throughout the years. I totally agree. I remember getting the news.
I do, yes.
Scott, this is the first one this is like the first artist that I was like pretty cognizant, or like aware of the music and in full, and we had our he had just, I think we had pretty much just started the page, and I was on the job with Andy actually, and I remember we were building a walkway but we got the news, and we turned the local rock radio station was playing the Strictly Stone Temple Pilots. They were playing all their stuff, and it was incredibly sad. It's like that they're struggling and they're doing well, and people are saying that he's okay, but then
I do remember that, and I think that was in late 2015, and because obviously being the age that we are, we're too young obviously to remember when Kurt Cobain passed away, or even Lane Staley in 2002, and I guess it didn't affect me because I wasn't a particularly large fan or attached to him in that way, but I guess I definitely remember, when Michael Jackson passed away, I think in 2009, and I remember how big that was. And Scott, just like what you said, for me, when Scott Weiland passed away, that was the first big loss of a musician that I really consider myself to be a fan of.
Yeah.
And to, not have the opportunity to see him play, again,
even
create
when Mike,
new music.
I was just going to say, even like Michael Jackson, like that happened, and I was still young enough where I didn't understand. Like, it was such a huge deal, but
right.
I was a little bit younger. It wasn't like when Kobe Bryant, like when he passed away, that was extremely significant. Where
definitely
to like the world, where like Michael Jackson was to the world, and it's like another level. And but Scott was that too. I mean, he had
and he had such an impact on everybody. I mean, the fact that people still today turn to songs of his from 25, 30 years ago, for comfort, or to make that conscious choice to have those songs be the soundtrack of their lives. I mean, that's not a small decision, I think. And when you listen to music all the time, you kind of forget. It's like, the best gift you can give an artist is to consume their art, and the fact that we're still continuing to do that, that obviously serves as a big testament, to who, Scott Weiland was, and, who the band was at the time. And I'm definitely, really grateful for the fact that, 3/4 of the original band, they're still around, they're still making music, and by all accounts, they seem to be enjoying that process. I do remember, when the band decided that they were going to get back together, they held open tryouts basically for the lead singing position of the Stone Temple Pilots, and there was this website that you could submit your performance to, and they received a ridiculous amount. And my favorite thing about that process, there was a rumor.
You put yours in. No.
I turned in the best performance of Plush. No, I'm just kidding. I would not want to ruin anybody's ears in that way. But the best thing to come out of that, even better than the fact that they found a great lead singer and they're making music, there was a rumor at the time that had said that Scott Stapp was being solicited or was interested in being the next frontman for the Stone Temple Pilots. And I need to track it down because there was definitely a tweet from the STP Twitter account that said, despite recent rumors, Scott Stapp is not being considered as the new lead singer of Stone Temple Pilots. And obviously that just puts the mental image in my head of, Scott just ripping into Wicked Garden, or which would be a sight to behold. So I'm kind of upset that we missed out on that, but what are you gonna do?
Could you imagine? Yeah, Scott Stapp. That would have been amazing.
That would have been absolutely amazing. That would have been fantastic. So the next question I have, pertaining to the Stone Temple Pilots, what song do you think we need to post directly after this podcast goes live of STP?
Well, you just posted one today, correct?
Yesterday. I did. I posted the Stone Temple Pilots playing the Roadhouse Blues by the Doors this morning. Yeah. So that was fantastic. And Scott, he had a lot of Jim Morrison in him, and I definitely, I know the Doors are certainly not for everybody, but I'm definitely into them. I think Jim Morrison was fantastic, and I could definitely see that streak in him. But yeah, we posted that one.
Probably should post something from the Rolling Rocks Festival or whatever, and then we should probably I don't know. Maybe we'll post Pretty Penny, something, or Atlanta. I mean, I think I'd probably find a version of Atlanta to post tonight.
And I believe they performed that on Letterman once. They performed Atlanta on Letterman. Yeah, definitely, or maybe Sour Girl or something. I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
I just love. I think I'm naturally inclined to posting songs from their catalog that are like that, just because I think it's not the side that people think of all the time. I mean, even like. Unfortunately, I've never been able to find any great footage of it, but they have a song off of the Purple album, which is my favorite Stone Temple Pilots record, and it's called "Still Remains." And it's just I remember the lyrics were were floating around quite a bit after he passed away because they kind of deal a little bit with mortality. But that's just another great song. Where
do you like to take in the Stone Temple Pilots? As in, what's the best frame for you to listen? Do you like doing it in your room, in the car? Like, when is the most likely for Chris Luna to throw on Wicked Garden?
Well, and in a way, I think there's two answers to that, because in my head, I've kind of separated them into two bands. It's like you have the band that did Wicked Garden, and then you have the band that did all of these like acoustic contemplative songs. So I definitely, I listen to them.
Which I think we do for most bands. I think you have like your Pearl Jam acoustic at night.
Yeah.
Where you have Eddie Vedder like dreaming up a new self with you.
Exactly.
And then you also have Off the
This
Rafters.
Is not for you. Fuck you. It's like
this is a rock show, Josh.
You've got the
Turn these lights
juxtaposition.
off.
Yeah, I think we do same thing. Oh my gosh, yeah. Now that I'm thinking of that, every single
band, Alice in Chains, man.
The band that wrote Wood is not in my head the same band that wrote Don't Follow. That was someone else. But so I guess for the Stone Temple Pilots, I listen to them quite often when I lift. I mean, the entire core album is just blows the roof off the building, in my opinion. But I definitely the statistical majority of the time I listen to STP or when when I'm contemplating something, whatever it is. Oftentimes, it's the Big Empties of the world, and actually off of and even some of their newer stuff. Some of their two new records. So in 2018 they released their second self-titled album, which was the first one with Jeff Goot, and then they released in 2020 they released an album called Perdita, and there's a lot of slower acoustic stuff on there. They have a song called Fare Thee Well, which is a little bit of a slower song. So I tend to skew towards those most of the time, and it's usually when I'm alone. Obviously they find their way onto various playlists, like the Interstate Love Songs of the world, the road trip playlist, the Saturday Drive playlists. But what about you? Where do you spin the Stone Temple Pilots?
Yeah, I think they're a good playlist band, and I say that often. I say that something like often where you can put them into a lot of playlists. They kind of they chameleon in really well, and they always come on. You're like happy to hear them, and I feel like. I don't know the statistics behind any of the bands, but I feel like Stone Temple Pilots, like their radio play is excellent. I feel like they're on every their local rock stations love here's Interstate Love Song.
They love Sex Type
here's
Thing.
The Big Empty by Stone Temple Pilots. Yeah, here's Sex Type Thing. And another classic rock block with we got a couple of STP songs lined up. So
your double shots, and they'll play Plush, and then they'll play whatever it might be.
Wicked Garden. Wicked Garden.
Absolutely.
So I think that I like my favorite time is to catch them on the radio on like a rock station, and just when I'm driving too. But
and I have to say, I still really enjoy listening.
Maybe from the job to the convenience store, get a 4-minute drive.
Get that morning coffee before you head out there. I have to say, I still really enjoy listening to FM rock radio, because it's all chance. I mean, you don't know what's gonna play. It's one thing when you put a playlist on, or like you're like, I'm listening to the Stone Temple Pilots, like when you know what's coming. But it's always, I still very much enjoy throwing the radio on, and then after the commercial break, after the little jingle, hearing what comes on. It's always exciting, and they definitely love playing the Stone Temple Pilots.
Well, it's also great about that too is you're in so much control. So when you put on a playlist, like obviously you put all the songs together, and if a song sucks, like it's your fault. But you put on the rock station, and you're just like, all right, like classic rock block, here we go. And you're like, all right, what do you guys got? And you're like, nope.
Yeah.
So you go to the next station, you're like, nope, no Michael Jackson today.
Yeah, it's like it could be
no Guns N' Roses. Absolutely not. I'm not going back.
It could be Soundgarden or it could be Bon Jovi. It's like you never know
because you finish a really good one and then Bon Jovi comes on. You're like,
yeah. And it's such a deflating feeling when you're waiting for the commercials to end or whatever, and it's crazy too when you think about it how much is under the classic rock umbrella. Especially with your good stations that'll verge into something like, I've heard the Meat Puppets on, FM radio before, and it's like they'll do that, and then you'll get Motley Crue, or you'll get Aerosmith, or you'll get, the FM rock love affair with Led Zeppelin, I don't think will ever end. No. But you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, the one station they play anything 25 years or older, and which is now getting into all this stuff.
You're gonna hear Cumbersome on there.
Well, that should be an all timer for a lot of
Who would be
reasons.
upset about that?
Yeah, who would be upset about that? Not me.
You're going to start to hear some Stained on there, some Aaron Lewis. It's been a while. It's really... how did we end up talking about this on a Stone Temple Pilots podcast?
Well, yeah, I know. Well,
it don't matter. It's all part of it,
It's all chance.
Yeah, but they're just such a great band, and it's...
I think I can foresee some listening to... some of that stuff around in a circle this weekend. We'll kind of sit together and listen to some STP. That sounds like a great time.
Absolutely. That sounds really, really enjoyable. I'm looking forward to that. And we've been looking forward to doing this episode on STP for a while. And it's been on the list because of the fact that it's like the most often frequently asked question, about why aren't we posting them? Like let's share some more. So you know what? Anytime anyone asks, what about Scott or what about the Stone Temple Pilots? We just have to send them the link to this lovely podcast episode that we're creating.
Yeah. And like you said in the beginning, there's no rhyme or reason to why we don't post more Stone Temple Pilots. We can do better. There's a lot of bands that
we can do better with most things. There's only one band that I consciously do not post, and that's Guns N' Roses. Aside from that, there's no rhyme or reason.
Luckily, I consciously and I was to say subconsciously will not post those guys.
Yeah, that is the only band I think that I do not like. Every other band, it's a personal decision. It's subjective. Guns N' Roses, I don't like them, and they are objectively bad. Fuck them.
Yeah, yeah. I just like you got to have a hard stance like that sometimes. Yeah. And for some reason,
I'm willing to die on this hill. Yeah. I totally agree.
That's your thing, Chris.
That is my thing. Yep.
I talked about it. I talked about it with our producer, and we need you to get hot and heavy about Guns N' Roses, at least once an episode.
Chris Salona unfiltered spills the beans on Axl Rose.
We got the 1 minute rant each time. You know what I don't like about Guns N' Roses? Yeah. I don't like Slash's hat. Just go.
His hat is the one cool thing about the band, in my opinion. Everything else sucks. Okay, there's two cool things, and the cigarette on his headstock. Everything else is garbage, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, Stone Temple Pilots. What about Scott? You asked, we answered. That answers the question. What about Scott? So
we'll definitely be posting some Scott tonight, and.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we're gonna love it. It's
gonna be great. So I hope you guys enjoyed a little banter about the Stone Temple Pilots, a little banter about Scott. We appreciate everyone who's listened thus far. We just surpassed actually 25,000 downloads of the podcast. So I don't know what that means, if that's good or if that's bad. The numbers, I'm so numb to what any of these metric numbers mean. But that seems significant enough to mention it. But I do know it's significant in the sense that people are making a conscious choice to listen to us and to support us. And that means a lot to Ethan and I, and to Drew, our producer, and everybody who's involved. So we appreciate it. If you're looking for more ways to support us, as always, you can head over to grungebible.com, our Patreon, which is the best way, most direct way to support us. The link is there. We also have merchandise available. Link is also there. Download, subscribe, like, review, email, rant, rave, anything you want to do. We appreciate it. We still read everything. We don't, unfortunately, have the time to respond to everything, but we read everything. We hear you guys. And we're really excited. And you guys have been asking for this episode for a while, so we are happy to oblige you.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are awesome all the time. The support, like we talked about earlier, the easiest way to support artists is just to take in their work, and you guys listening to this and liking our, the shit that we post on the Instagram. Obviously we see that and we're like, all right, people are still interested. That's what sometimes I post something. I posted Chris Cornell on Sunday morning. I was like, all right, they still want it. So it's like, all right, it's still good.
We still have a part to play in this whole thing. So I want to change gears a little bit and talk about, we're gonna play some music together this weekend. Is that right?
Yes, we are, Chris. So
I'm excited for that.
So yeah, basically, going back home, and Chris has been learning. He basically has been learning guitar for like 4 years just for this moment, right?
Yeah. I sat down. I sat down with a shitty Squier Stratocaster in 2015, knowing in 2021 I'm going to play in a band called Merchant Copy with a man named Ethan Shalloway that I do not know. And it's going to be awesome. So yeah, this is basically just the culmination. I've never played music with anybody ever.
You've never jammed? Never jammed?
I've never jammed with anybody. I've never played. It's really funny. I actually this week, I think it was probably the first time that I've ever played the guitar standing up. I'm usually always just sitting and hanging out. Yeah. Like I'm green, dude. Like I am,
holy cow.
I am the manifestation of the Mr. Rogers meme where it's like, I'm not good at this, but it doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So there's
it's gonna be great.
So the nice part about this, so basically, like I said, we're gonna have a little party after the competition, and our friend Andy's coming over, who's played some shows with me. He's my old boss. And we have a bar, and we have some instruments set up, and we're just gonna play. And then hopefully we'll open up the barn door and we'll get a few people to come and sit and watch, and we'll play for a few live human beings. And I mean, it's gonna be super casual, but it doesn't matter, because
in a weird way, though, I have to say it's kind of like one of those bucket list things. As being such a big fan of music, I think every music fan at some point or another like has like that like internal fantasy about just like playing music, in front of people. It's like it's similar to like how I ran a marathon for the first time a couple months ago. It's like you do it once, no one can ever take it away from you. Like I'll be able to go to my grave, I'll be able to tell my grandkids that I was in a fucking rock band. So speaking of which, another question that I have for you, and then we'll get back to talking a little bit about the show, is is it cool? Is it still cool to be in a band? Like, does that gain you points socially or in a relationship? Like, is that something that you can tell somebody, whether it's a friend or a significant other or somebody that you're attempting to make a significant other? Does that gain points? Is it still cool? And there's another part to this question, but
well, Chris, I bring it up every time. I bring up that I was in a band in high school all the time. So if I'm bringing up that I used to be in a band, I sure as hell hope that it's cool to be in a band right now.
Absolutely.
So, I would. I mean, in my sect, in my thinking, like I think it's it is the best decision you can make. If you're playing music in high school, you got to be in a band. You got to do it. And I do think that playing music with multiple people and having a show, I would say that it is super cool, totally badass, and should definitely be used to leverage friendship and leverage. It's funny, like you say you're in a band and people are like, that's so awesome. And then you're like, can you come to my show? And they're like, I'm busy.
I don't know about that. I have that thing.
Yeah, like I didn't even tell you when it was. Like,
yeah. And they're like, no, but like I probably have that thing to go to.
Yeah, they always say, you want to see how many friends you have? Start a band. And then you're like, oh, it's $5 to come. And they're like, no.
Yeah, no.
Like $5, too much. It's amazing.
It's like you thought you had friends. You probably don't have friends.
No. If you want to see how many friends you have, start a band.
Yeah. So I'm about to find out. We're about to find out if we have friends on Saturday. Yeah. It's a couple days away. Part 2 of that question. Is it cool to you that we run this page?
Period? Like, is that the
period? Like, is it similar to the band question? Like, is it something that you bring up to people and are like, yeah, like I run this Instagram page, it's got a lot of followers, and we talk about music. Because like I don't talk about it really.
No, I definitely
and if I do, I'm always like, I do this thing. I have this music page. It's really dumb. It's really stupid. I never say like, oh, we have like X amount of followers, or like, hey, like, you know, whatever,
I just
whatever.
Like show them usually. Yeah, I don't say.
Yeah,
I'm the same way. I don't. It does not come up in my like.
No, it's such a weird thing to come up. It doesn't come up on your resume.
Like, and for some reason, it's totally down. I think we both have totally downplayed like.
Oh, totally.
Everything.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Just, yeah,
but I don't know. Like, I really don't know if it's cool. You know, because like I don't have any case studies really where I've been like, hey, I run this thing.
You know, it's cool though.
What?
It's cool that it's not like our person, like an athlete, like it's just, or like a public figure, like it's not like it's us that's has 300,000. Like, it's kind of cool that we're like it's like just a separate, like a page. And, yeah, it's kind of like it's its own thing, and then we can be separated. But I just like that it's like
it's not synonymous with us. Yeah,
there it's just not like out of what's the word I'm looking for, where people follow a person and live vicariously through something. I don't know. Like, it's like it's an entity more.
Because like we're really
cool.
Yeah, because like we're really not that interesting, in my opinion.
No, we're interesting, Chris.
Are we?
We're pretty interesting.
Okay, yeah, I need to stop being so self-deprecating. I'm in a fucking band. I'm in a damn band. You can't tell me anything.
You're gonna realize quick on Saturday that you're cool as hell. You start playing up there.
It is going to be fantastic. But yeah, I've always wondered about that. So I'm excited. So basically, what's going to happen, Ethan, is I'm going to play in this band on Saturday, and every single social encounter that I have moving forward, I am going to include in one way, shape, or form that yes, I know how to play an instrument, and yes, I am in a band, and yes, we rock.
Yeah. And the nice part is the story will grow every time. And then
absolutely. We played in front of 7 people. Next thing you know, it's like we played in front of 300, and then 1,000.
Yeah, to shut it down. Then people were it's going crazy. Yeah, if people say they play music, like, oh yeah, I was in a band. Like, I used to play. And that's all you can say, and then they could think whatever they want. You don't even need to. You don't even need to say.
Pretty soon, I'll be telling people that we turned down the chance to play at Madison Square Garden or something. Because we wanted to keep it. Yeah, exactly. See, people don't know this.
Yeah.
One day, a merchant copy. That day will not be.
Like I said, I'm envisioning. It's gonna be pretty casual, so we'll probably be able to fire off like 3 or 4 songs with
nice little mini set.
Attention being held. Yeah, so if you had 4 songs to pick, and I guess it doesn't, whatever you're practicing as well, but it doesn't need to be exactly what. Well, actually, I guess what can you play? Give us your 4-song set list.
If I could construct a 4-song set list.
Well, no, I mean, like, realistically for Saturday,
like what I could pull off. I mean, it's got to be grunge. Absolutely Backwater by the Meat Puppets. That's got to be in there.
I'm so glad you're on board with that.
Oh yeah, you have
incredible to play.
In the Backwater swirling, there's some things that'll never change, man. You have to have that. I mean, the Brothers Meat. Anytime you can pay tribute to them, you have to. That's definitely on there. I mean, with only 4 songs, it's kind of hard to like really like segue into some like downer, slower stuff. But like, I just love the concept of closing any set list with Yellow Ledbetter. I would love that. I'm capable of doing that. The rhythm guitar portion, which is great because our lead guitarist, can channel his inner Michael McCready. I love Serve the Servants is great.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one.
The Big Empty is great too, but I mean, you can't do Big Empty and Yellow Ledbetter in my opinion. Not For You by Pearl Jam, Alive by Pearl Jam. I mean, that's a classic. Which I do know how to play. The problem is all the songs in my head right now that I'm thinking of are definitely a little bit of downers. But No Excuses by Alice in Chains would be a great opener in my opinion. So what about you? What if you could pick some? If it were up to you, what would you choose?
I love Backwater. I'm definitely want to play
that one's
Backwater.
in.
Serve the Servants is good, but I would probably I love playing Lounge Act.
You're a big Lounge Act guy, yeah.
Yeah, Lounge Act is really fun. It's fast paced, and let's see. I love playing Foo Fighters, so I rather play. Last time we played Wheels. I love Wheels. Is really fun to play. Or it's kind of fun to play Everlong. Always, that's like the first song that people but that's the first time I feel like Drew played on guitar with me. So Everlong, and then probably, let's see. And then Andy wanted to play Sour Girl, and I was listening to that the other day, and I think that would be really fun to play. And I think he could sing that really well, so I think that we could play that really well. Have you looked at playing that one? Is that tough?
No, I gotta learn that.
I listen to the drums and I can tell if it's hard or not. And I listen to the guitar and I'm like, I can't tell, because sometimes I'm like, oh, that's really hard. And Drew's like, nah, this is actually really easy.
Yeah.
Like the chords just work easily. So I can't tell if guitar parts are difficult.
Yeah, I do think that a lot of people, myself included, I'm inclined, if something sounds really good on the guitar, I just kind of assume that it's difficult. So I fall into that trap a lot of times, but I don't know. I mean, there's a couple of things in my opinion that, like, if you know how to do, I mean, they're all interrelated, so you can kind of, if you know one thing, it's a very transferable skill, but it's certainly, it can be a challenge for me because, like, I don't know, I can't read music. I don't know theory. I don't know what any of the chord shapes are called. I don't know music key or anything. So like I can learn by watching, and if it's within my skill range, usually I can learn by hearing. But Sour Girl, I don't know. We're gonna have to I'm gonna pull an all-nighter tonight and learn it and keep all my neighbors up. And learn some Sour Girl. But yeah, man, I mean that'd be a great one to include.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
So the question is, when this happens, do we share anything from it? Yeah.
Do we live stream it?
Record? So there's one thing that I do need.
Stream?
I would prefer to not live stream it or share it because I think I suck. I need a photograph of this occurring, so then I can have proof for my children. That I played a rock show.
I definitely need a picture with you at the front. Maybe we'll set up a second microphone and we won't turn it on, but you can stand there in front of a mic. And
what are you afraid of?
With his guitar, with a microphone, and then me in the back, in the middle, playing the drums. Yeah. So then it'll be a perfect 3-piece.
Merchant copy.
I'd put that on my freaking wall.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're gonna have to, because if you're not doing this for clout, why else would you be doing it? So. That's basically what it comes down to. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm looking forward to having some fun, catching up, and playing some music in the process. It'll be a lot of fun. Let's start to close this down. Songs of the week. So I actually I had one, and then right before we started recording, you got up, I think, to do something. I changed my song of the week, so we have a late revision for my song of the week. And I'm just going to lead in.
Let's get right into it. You go first.
I'm kind of excited about this one. My song of the week is Wigwam by Bob Dylan, which it has no lyrics. It was off of his album Self-Portrait, which came out in 1970, and that was his first album since, like, his very historic run of, like, John Wesley Harding and Nashville Skyline and, like, Highway 61. Like, he had a ridiculous run in the mid 60s from, like, 64 to 67, where it was all just, like, kick-ass, iconic, like, Mount Rushmore of folk music, Bob Dylan. And then he came out with Self-Portrait in 1970, and the entire music world was collectively like, what the fuck is this, Bob? So if you haven't listened to Wigwam, you have to. There's no lyrics. It's just kind of Bob Dylan just, like, humming around and just, like, doing what Bob Dylan began to do for later on in his career. And there's, like, some horns in it, and it's just, like, it's pretty awesome. But I love it. I recently remembered it, or I guess remembered it. There's no remembering. But what were you saying?
How the hell did you just switch over to that? What made you think of that?
So my normal practice when finding a song of the week is I go and look at my whatever playlist I'm adding to currently. So, like, I usually do a playlist for every single season. So, like, my summer playlist. And I added Wigwam over the weekend. I don't know why. I don't know how. But, yeah, and it was going to be L.A. Woman by The Doors, but it's not. I decided to change it.
Not today.
I listened to it a bunch earlier today, and sitting here at 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, L.A. Woman's just not doing it for me right now. But Wigwam, that hits the spot. That scratches the itch. So we're gonna add some Bob Dylan, and you know who originally introduced me to Wigwam?
Who?
Andrew Wells, our old teammate at the University of Pittsburgh. I don't know how he knew of it, but yeah, he introduced me to it.
He commented on the Rooster post.
I know.
Today.
I was very excited about that. That was fantastic. But yeah, we're rolling with the Wigwam, and this is probably the most excited I've been about a song of the week. It's probably this week and last week with the big beat Buddy Miles, but Wigwam I'm pretty fired up about. But what's your song this week?
Yeah, so for my song of the week, I had to ask myself one question. What about Scott?
What about Scott?
What about Scott? So it was an easy answer. I'm putting on Atlanta. If I'm putting together a playlist that you guys should be listening to, Atlanta is on that playlist. And especially it goes with this episode. It's so important. I think that song is just absolute beauty. And it deserves to be on playlists. It deserves to be on more.
Absolutely. So, more people need to know about it.
Yeah. So I'm putting it on there. I think that it's a great one. Like I said, it's a great song to pop up on the playlist. And
you're absolutely right. Well, we answered that question. We answered many questions on this episode of the Grunge Bible podcast. Ethan, it's always a pleasure recording some podcast with you, just kind of shooting the shit. And I'm very excited. I will be seeing you very soon, and it's always a good day when we get together in person, and perhaps, who knows, maybe we'll sit down and record a little bit.
I think we should.
Maybe I think we really should. It's just whether or not we're distracted by other tasks that are certainly at hand. But I'm looking forward to it. So I would like to thank everybody for listening to this episode. Really appreciate your support. And Ethan, if we've got nothing else to say, I think we ride off into the sunset, and I'm going to be on my way to New York City pretty soon to see Bruce Springsteen.
That's right. You hit the road. I hit the road. It's the summer. It's the best summer it's the best summer of our lives, right? That's what they say.
Certainly better than last summer, man.
That's right. So we're doing our best. We're living a great life. Life is happy,
Who's got it better than us?
Nah, I have no idea.
Nobody.
Doesn't matter. Nobody.
Absolutely.
So
well,
anyway,
everyone.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys again. We love you all. Rock and roll. Stay safe. Have a great weekend.
Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.